What's good, everybody? It's Big Game James, man. I'm back in the building, and guess what? I was gonna talk about the game on, but I had already did a video earlier about, who I thought to look for in this Jaguars game, which comes up this Saturday. Check it out. And I was like, what should I make this video about? Then guess what? Bam. I subscribe to Pro Football Focus. Y'all can say what y'all want about it, but I love Pro Football Focus. I don't look at the grades, but that information is beastie. And our guy John Oning is on there, one of our Cowboys own. He went over to PFF, and I thought it was a great move for him, just in my opinion, because he's a great information guy. He breaks down that information like no other. I've been following John Oning since probably 2018. I did a couple shows with him, once with Sky, me, him, and Skywalker. And then I actually invited him on my show, a pregame show, where he gave me a breakdown of the Washington Redskins at the time. I think it was 2018. He gave a great breakdown. So shout out to him. This is his Pro Football Focus article on the not so early 53-man roster. So I'm like, yeah, let's talk about that. So he's got his list down for the 53-man roster, people he thinks that will make the team. And we're just going to go through it right quick. And, I'm going to bounce off my thoughts off his list and see, if I agree with some things. Not like I'm somebody, but hey, I'm breaking it down. So it's a great stuff. He always go check out Pro Football Focus, John Oning. He always has great stuff. But let's jump right into it without further ado. And let's see if we can compare 53-man rosters and who makes what. First, let's talk about the quarterback position. Dak Prescott, Cooper Rush. I agree with John. And only two quarterbacks. I know Will Grier is there, but I feel like Cooper Rush established himself last year in that 5-game span where he went 4-1. Obviously, he was not the all-world quarterback throwing the ball everywhere. We had to rely on that defense. We had to rely on running game, short passing game. CeeDee Lamb went crazy. But he proved that he was more than a capable backup. I didn't believe he was a capable backup. I didn't believe he was going to make a roster. But guess what? Cooper Rush proved me wrong. I'm sure he proved a lot of doubters that he can be an effective quarterback in short spaces of a period of time if an injury happens. So I feel a little bit more confident in Cooper Rush being the backup now if something were to happen to Dak Prescott based on what we saw last year. And if you look at the article right here, and we're going to read a little bit of it, QB is pretty straightforward for the Cowboys. The only real decision is whether to keep number 3, Will Grier on the 53-man roster or risk getting him poached by another team as they try to sneak him on the practice squad. This decision will likely come down to how Grier plays in the preseason, but for now, I expect him to start the season on Dallas practice squad, and I agree. I feel like they're only keeping 2 quarterbacks, and those are the guys. Running back's a little tricky because right now you got Tony Pollard, you got Rico Dowdell, you got Malik Davis, you got Ronald Jones, and you got Deuce Vaughn and Hunter Luepke on the low, which I'm going to talk about right quick. So his backs that he thinks is going to make it is Tony Pollard, Deuce Vaughn, and Rico Dowdell. Now, I'm going to read a little bit right here, and let's show a quick highlight of this. This is some Deuce Vaughn. Deuce. Look at him. Man, he gets me excited, dog. I don't care. He just does. I know this is nothing special, but that little dude is he's going to do some things. So if y'all been watching me, I've been not saying I'm on the Rico Dowdell train, but I've definitely the last just kept him in my head. And then this past couple months, past few months, I've been like, keep your eye on Rico Dowdell. Keep your eye on Rico Dowdell. The team likes him. He's been on the team like I think 4 years now. And he has what you need. He has what you want. Good size, 6 foot. Good size as far as the body type, about 210, 215. Can run strong between the tackles. Can catch the ball at the backfield. And I believe he's a capable blocker for your team. So in that aspect, and he's right now number 2 on the unofficial depth chart on the Dallas Cowboys over Malik Davis and Ronald Jones. Obviously got the 2-game suspension. Deuce Vaughn is your 6th-round pick. So let's relist a little bit right here. I'm not going to talk about Tony Pollard because he's a given. Vaughn is a small scat back who brings impressive receiving ability out the backfield, while Dowdell is a more traditional back who possesses impressive vision, balance as a ball carrier. Facts. But here's the thing. Dowdell's scary injury history is the biggest determinant at this point, which is true. Because if he gets hurt again, in my opinion, that experiment is over. Okay, I feel like that's the only thing that's really going to keep him from being that number 2 guy is if he gets injured again. I feel like if he gets another significant injury, I think his time is done in Dallas. So he must stay healthy this year, which is why Malik Davis and Ronald Jones should not be counted out of this competition either. I'm sorry. Unless Ronald Jones, a world beater, you're already starting out 2 games, not playing. I just don't feel like they're going to keep you. You're not that important on the team to be missing 2 games and you come in and playing. And we seen you in camp, but I just don't see Ronald Jones making it and be on the team. Just me. Davis in particular brings a violent running style that's earning fans across Cowboy Nation, which is a fact. Davis was very impressive last year. I like Davis. But I heard some things behind the scenes about Davis, so that's why I'm a little more leery about Davis now, because some things I heard behind the scenes, which I'm not going to talk about. But I just heard some things behind the scene, so that's why I feel like Rico brings everything you want in that element of that back that you can counteract with the Tony Pollard. He must stay healthy. So if he stays healthy and he turns up in these preseason games, I think he's a lock to be that backup. Deuce Vaughn, I've said I want to see how the Cowboys use him. Or is he going to be on kickoff returns? Is he going to be on punt returns? I think he will get some running carries. They're going to use him out the backfield in the screen game. They're going to use him in multi-different facets, and I think he's going to be an effective player. I said he's one of my 4 guys on the offense. Tony Pollard, Brandon Cooks, Cavante Turpin, Deuce Vaughn, that we haven't had the speed and shiftiness in a long time. So I think he's going to be electric for the team. He's so down going small. He's just going to make some plays that we're really going to need. And I think he's going to give excitement to this offense. Then it says, moreover, don't forget about rookie undrafted free agent Hunter Luepke, whose versatile skill set could earn him a spot on the roster when all is said and done. I believe Hunter Luepke is going to make this team because I heard Stephen Jones talking about him in particular. And then we had Clarence Hill on there. He said Stephen Jones told him specifically about Hunter Luepke. And when Stephen Jones has an infinity for you and he's versatile, fullback, tight end, receiver, I definitely feel like he can play special teams. I feel like he's going to make the team somehow, some way. So one of these guys through the list might get cut off. So we'll see how that happens as a whole. But for me, I think Hunter Luepke makes the team somehow, some way. But I agree with John on the 3 backs, and I think Hunter Luepke gets on there as well. So let's go to receiver. That's been an interesting thing talking about. We know the first 3. CeeDee Lamb, been monstrous. He's going to have a monstrous year. Brandon Cooks. Oh, I love the addition of Brandon Cooks. Man, that speed, that get off of just everything he brings to the table. I think we're going to have 2,000-yard receivers this year in Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb. Michael Gallup. We talked to Kyle Human yesterday about Michael Gallup. And with Michael Gallup, Kyle doesn't think he's all the way back, and I tend to agree. He's been very quiet this training camp, and I feel like he's a number 3 guy now. I think those injuries may have kind of taken a toll. He's already had multiple knee injuries, ankle, things of that nature, kind of banged up. Now, I ain't saying Michael Gallup not going to be effective, but I think he's going to fit into that number 3 role smoothly. I don't think he's the number 2 receiver any longer, and I think that's why they went out and got Cooks. And we'll see how that contract situation goes, because he signed a 5-year deal, but in essence could be a 2. So I think this is a critical year for Gallup if he were to continue to stay on the roster after this season. So let's see how he goes. Jalen Tolbert has been nothing but confident, stunning. You see the difference between year 1, year 2, and we've been hearing that the playbook is a lot simplified, and so guys are playing instead of thinking, and that was one of the issues with Tolbert. A little bit too much on the plate, a little bit too early. It got dumbed down a little bit with your guys in Schottenheimer and McCarthy, so I think we're going to see big things. Turpin, I told you, he's one of my ace guys. I love how they start putting him in the receiver position. You can see a little bit of this Tolbert right here. See Dak going out there. Look at that. Get it, Tolbert. He's been doing that all practice, and we love seeing it. I love Tolbert stepping up. I loved him out of college. I actually picked him in multiple mock drafts for the Cowboys to draft him, and I saw him in the Senior Bowl, and I loved what I saw with him, and that's why I wanted him. Now, Cavante Turpin, he came into the team late. We saw how he came into the team late, and he really never got his footing, but it was more of a Kellen Moore thing, in my opinion. A lot of things he said were real confusing. and that's probably why he didn't get on the field. And he feels like he's playing more freely and loosely. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why he's getting on the field, and you're seeing his receiver ability. Had a little cut of dropsies the other day, but moreover, I like Kevontae Turpin. I don't think he's going to be a world beater, but he's going to make some good plays in this season as that sixth receiver and returner. I mean, the fifth receiver and returner. And I like his ability, the shiftiness, the speed. I just like that. We got a small Deshaun Jackson little type guy, the Tank Dell. We needed one of those guys, and I feel like he fits that perfectly. Jalen Brooks, he's been the man this whole camp right now. 6'2", 205 pounds, out of South Carolina, 7th round draft pick, been catching everything. He's strong hands. He plucks that ball out the sky. He goes up and gets it. He's physical after the run. He's a physical receiver. I didn't know too much about him when they drafted him, but just watching him in camp, listen to Isaiah stand back, these guys talking about him, I feel like he's the guy. So I agree with John Owning on these 6 guys. I feel like we've been talking about Simi Fehoko, talking about him. As you can see, some quick highlights here from Kevontae Turpin. Look at that speed. That's what we need right there. And I just feel like Simi Fehoko, his time is done. I feel like, he's had numerous chances. He was a 5th round draft pick. He has numerous chances. He's had a little bit of injury bug. He's had the dropsies again. And I feel like, I wanted him to make it because I was like, I'm hearing all these good things about him. People keep pumping him up. I never thought he was going to make the roster. But I was like, people keep pumping him up. A lot of people like him. Dak likes him. He just really might be able to make the roster. But then when I see him still dropping passes, still getting pushed off routes, still doing the same things for the last couple of years, I just don't see it, and I just don't think he makes the team. And I think if Jalen Brooks shows what he has in practice on the field, then you're going to see him on the roster and the other guys gone. And then as we're going down here, you can read through this. I'm going to go slow so you can read through this. I am pre-recorded. I am not live. So that's just to let you know. But here, check this out. This is Jalen Brooks right here. Catches the ball with his hands. I like Jalen Brooks. Great draft pick for the 7th round. Good job. And then they mentioned the other guys. Brooks has been another standout as a rookie, seemingly set himself apart from the other receivers fighting for the roster spot like Dennis Houston, Simi Fehoko, Dontario Drummond. Brooks' ability to contribute on special teams was already playing in his favor, so showing legit receiver skills should only make his bid for a roster spot even stronger. Yes. It should be noted that Dallas has been plagued by young receivers who show well early and can't before petering out and struggling toward the end. Cries in John Vay Johnson. Now, if y'all know me, I have been screaming for John Vay for 2 years straight, but he kept on dropping the ball when you needed the most. I kept on saying John Vay Johnson, John Vay Johnson. Anybody who's followed me knows I was on John Vay. Ask my dude Wink. Wink knows I was on John Vay, but he just couldn't hold on to the ball and he had to go. Also was on Jalen Guyton. I liked him. He was undrafted. I liked him as well, and I wanted the Cowboys to keep him. You see what he's done at the Chargers. So they got some opportunities. So enough. Even though Turpin and Brooks have made the most of their opportunities, don't be surprised if someone like Fehoko comes on strong toward the end to beat one of them out. I don't believe it. I feel like those guys that he talked about are going to be on the roster. So let's go to tight end right quick. So we got tight end. Jake Ferguson, Luke Shoemaker, Sean McEwen, Peyton Hendershot. Obviously, Jake Ferguson's going to be there. He was a draft pick, and we saw what he did last year. Luke Shoemaker, we've all been frustrated with that pick. I don't want to get in depth about it, but he's on the practice field. Was practiced yesterday. He's going to practice today. That is good to see that he's finally on there, and we'll see how the dynamic goes. Peyton Hendershot, I love Peyton Hendershot. I said he was the baby. Aaron Hernandez had the body type. A good year. He's been under Dak's wing, been smoking him, soaking him up like a sponge. And I feel like you might see some really good things from Peyton Hendershot this season. Sean McEwen is the dark horse. I liked McEwen a couple years ago, and he has good hands. He's a good inseam blocker. He's versatile. You can play him on special teams. He's another Michigan guy, and I've always kind of liked McEwen. Just never really had a chance to really show what he could do. And I'll let you go ahead and read this through here. Um, so I think those are the four. Now, we hear about this guy, John Stevens Jr., and we can play a quick clip of him as he's coming out that backfield. 6'6", 220 pounds, came in as a receiver, and they switched him to tight end. He's got a great skill set. We had Kyle Yeomans on here. He's been his guy. He's been telling everybody about John Stevens, a lot, John Machado, Isaiah Stanback. A lot of people are high on him. So this could be a process if Stevens goes crazy in his preseason, where it says right here, while McEwen's versatility skill set likely protects his roster spot in this case, as McEwen is likely more directly competing with Lukey for a roster spot, Hendershot could be a surprise cut if Stevens continues to show out. I wonder about that, but I think they're not going to let go of Hendershot. Just me. Stevens would have to go crazy for them to cut Hendershot. I just don't see them cutting him. And I think Stevens and McEwen might be the two guys that might be battling out. For some reason, I feel like Hendershot, his space is good. His space is good. So we'll see how that goes. Offensive line, I don't want to read too much about that, but we know Tyron Smith, left tackle, Tyler Smith, left guard, Biadasz, center, Zach Martin, hurry up and get to camp, right guard, Terrence Steele, get that contract for him, big dog. Matt Waletzko, they're not letting him go because he was hurt all last year, so he's not going to get cut. They want to see him. I said he was going to be the right tackle. He looked more like a right tackle. They were sliding him at guard. He don't look like no guard to me. He looks like he's going to be the swing right tackle. A lot of people said he ain't really stepping his game up, so we'll see. I've only saw highlights, but I'm trusting the guys that have talked to me about him that he needs to continue to get better, and he needs to show and prove. This is essentially like his rookie year, so he can't have great expectations, but he's still got to, if he's the swing tackle and he's coming in out off somebody getting hurt, we'll see. Matt Farinock, he had played guard, tackle, center. He was playing a lot of the guard, right and left guard, but they kind of settled him at center. I thought he was going to be the backup center to Biadasz or compete with him because he showed some good stuff in that Philly game where it was a meaningless game, but he still showed good ability, good get off the ball, strength, good feet. So I like Matt. Asim Richards was just drafted by the Cowboys from North Carolina. I feel like his spot is safe just because of the pick. They need depth. And, I mean, he's a pretty decent athlete, but you got to work on technique and strength. Chuma Edoga, they brought him over from the Jets. I haven't heard no good things about him this year. You know what I'm saying? In camp. So that's why, he may be put off. I mean, they put him at tackle, they put him at guard, and they saying he's been struggled. The feet have just not been where it's at. So we'll see. And the biggest surprise on the list, he has Hoffman and Josh Ball. Both of them, he doesn't have Josh Ball making it and Imo Adoga. Josh Ball could be cut. He was a fourth round pick, and they've been waiting for it to happen. Now I think he's settled in at the guard. I don't think he's playing any tackle. He's got good power, but technique, feet, things of that nature could hold him down from being able to do, make the team or be able to make plays. The guy I'm looking at to make the team that I think will make it over, he has Brock Hoffman. I think Brock Hoffman doesn't make it, and I think rookie TJ Bass does. I've heard a lot of good things about him. I definitely want to see him in preseason, but I think TJ Bass. So I'm going to put TJ Bass and insert here and take out Brock Hoffman there. I think I agree with everything else he has right here, but I'm taking Brock Hoffman off and I'm putting in TJ Bass right there on the offensive line. Defensive line, arguably the toughest spot to cut down for the Cowboys roster is the defensive line. They got a legit defensive line this season. You feel me? A legit defensive line. So obviously, Micah Parsons, obviously DeMarcus Lawrence, obviously Osa Okwudozor, obviously Mozzie Smith, obviously John Hankins, obviously Sam Williams, obviously Dorrance Armstrong Jr., obviously Dante Fowler. Chauncey Golston, I feel like he's not an obvious, but I feel like he's dumb enough. John says it right here that he came on at the end of the season. He bulked up. They put him a lot more inside. I thought he was more of an inside player than an outside. more inside than outside. So it just seems like that would really happen right there with Golston. So I think he's safe in that aspect. And then Vilima Fehoko. I said, this was going to be a redshirt year for him. But I kept watching him, man. I went back and watched his tape. Shout out to Jay Tuck. He really put me on to him. I kept watching him. And, man, the dude is just ultra aggressive. He never quits. He's a motor guy. And he has athletic ability, too. And I think Dan Quinn likes him. And a lot of people like him in camp. So I think he makes the team based on that. Then you see right here, I don't think Quentin Bohanna gets cut, though. Okay, so maybe they go 11 guys right here because I think Bohanna is going to make the team. So maybe they'll cut down one of the guys on here. But if I were to remove a guy on here, because I'm gonna say they go 11. They might have to cut somebody down on one of these other positions. But I feel like Bohanna's going to make it. Neville Gallimore, we all been talking about him. He's been up and down. The career has just not been consistent enough. We were excited when he came back in 2021. He was playing like on fire. Then he just fizzled out. And that's what has been his career. He'll go hard a few games, bad 3 games. Go hard 2 games, bad 4 games. And I feel like they're done with that inconsistency. So I think they should try to get a trade. I don't know who would take him, but he's a big man. Always need big guys and candidates. So maybe they could get fleece and get somebody for a late pick for him. If not, I think he's going to get cut. But I still think they keep Bohanna for the simple fact of Mozzie and Jonathan Hankins. One of those guys go down. You still need beef in the middle. And that's why I think Bohanna will make this team somehow, some way, in my opinion. Now, let's go over to, and we'll see a quick highlight right here of Neville Gallimore. Ooh-wee, ooh-wee, ooh-wee. Ooh, that ain't good. Got to do better, and that's why I think he won't be on the roster. And then he says, coming into camp, I essentially wrote off Bohanna to make the 53-man roster. He's been a below-average nose tackle since being drafted. However, it looks like the increased competition in nose tackle from Smith and Hankins has lit a fire under the Kentucky product, and he has made notable plays in seemingly every practice since the pads came on. If the Cowboys keep 11 defensive linemen, which I think they will, Bohanna could be the last of them to make the team. And I think Bohanna does make the team, and I think they do keep 11. My opinion right there. Now, this is where they could go short instead of 5 linebackers or 4, and they add the 11. Linebackers are huge, especially in this preseason. I need to see the linebackers. I need to see linebackers. I've been talking about the linebackers position for the last 3 years, it seems like. Obviously, LVE, they've been rushing him. I don't think he's a rusher. I think he's better in coverage. He's a good tackler. You keep these guys, keep them clean, and Hankins and Mozzie and possibly Bohanna, keep him clean. He's a more effective linebacker and he can do better. Damone Clark, I think he's a 100-tackle guy, and I think his arrow's pointing up, and we're going to see that. Jabril Cox, he's the X factor. We've been waiting for Jabril Cox, but I think he's been showing little plays here and there, and I feel like they'll find a way to get him on the field and find some way to get him together. Because I just feel like you just don't let go of that talent, and I feel like they can bring it out of him, and let's see how it happens. DeMarvion Overshown, he's making the squad just because of his draft status, but I think he has a lot to offer. He's versatile. He played linebacker. He plays safety. He's that big nickel guy. He's versatile. Had a couple interceptions, as you can see right here. Had an interception on Dak Prescott. Look at that right there. Tip ball. Boom, boom. Look at that. Look at that. We love seeing that. And I love his attitude. He's a Texas boy. Shout out to them Texas Longhorns. And I love it. Devin Harper is a guy that I'm going to say Boss Cowboy put me on to. He's not super tall, about 6 foot, 240, but he's physical guy, super physical guy, run through you. I think he's a sideline guy, good anticipation in the hole as far as the linebacker position. I think he makes it. You see Malik Jefferson out of Texas, and then you see where Harper's ability able to sneak over Malik Jefferson due to special teams ability, and that's what's really going to keep him. But I like the Devin Harper kid, and I think we might see something of him later down the line. He was a late draft pick as well, so I think he stays over Malik Jefferson because Malik Jefferson came from a different team and Harper is homegrown. And they like the homegrown guys. I think that's why he stays on. And I think they could go 4 at the 11 with Bohanna, and we'll say that, and we'll see how that pans out. Secondary, boom. We know about Trevin Diggs. Stephen Gilmore's been a godsend. Deron Bland's just been cooking. He's going to play in that slot. Jordan Lewis is a guy that we need to keep our eye on because he's going to start out on the PUP. We don't know what's going to happen with that Lies Frank injury. That's a terrible injury to come back from. So we got to keep our eye on him. That could be where Kelvin Joseph's spot can possibly keep on the team just because the unknown with Jordan Lewis. And so you got to keep people for depth. But if he makes it back, he makes more sense than a Kelvin Joseph, obviously. Nahshon Wright has stepped his game up. I liked him toward the end of last year. I said, step in the right direction. He played better at the end of the season. I've always liked his ability to play hard. He never gives up on plays. I like his intensity. He wants to get better. That was Dan Quinn's pick, and I don't think Dan Quinn lets him go right now. He's 6'5". He put on some weight. He's been a sponge to Gilmore and Diggs. I like him. Obviously, we got Donovan Wilson, Malik Hooker, Jaron Kearse, I think the best safety tandem in the game. Remember when we were complaining about safeties? Now we got 3 of them. And Israel Mukuamu and Marquise Bell, they ain't no joke either. So you got really 5 guys, and you can rotate Israel Mukuamu between corner and safety. So he's an extra guy for you. That's why I don't think Kevin Joseph makes it, because basically he's been getting cooked up all camp, and the same thing has been happening as in the past couple of years. And I just feel like that experiment is over. All right. And then Eric Scott Jr. is another reason why I feel like that experiment is over, because he's been turning up in camp. He's been going crazy. He's been sticky. He's been physical. He's 6'1". He's 200 pounds. He's got the length that the Cowboys like. He's ultra competitive, and he's not what Kelvin Joseph is. He's competitive. And if he can knock down that special teams, where are you keeping Kelvin Joseph for? You can only keep on thinking that this dude is going to step up because of the athletic ability. The other stuff is not there, but I mean, how long are we going to wait? So I feel like Dallas moves on. And then you can see right here, you can read this as well, and I'll show you a quick highlight of Eric Scott. Love it. There you go. I love it. So, moreover, Scott has played to the level the Cowboys should heavily consider keeping him over Joseph for the last cornerback spot on the roster. If he shows real special teams ability during the preseason, then Joseph's roster spot will be in serious jeopardy. The only reason why he's still on the team, dog, because he was a second-round pick. That's it. And if these other guys leapfrog him, why are you keeping him on there? And then you can read about the other guys right here as well. Specialists, love Brian Anger. Trent Seg, I think he's your snapper. Kicker to be named. I mean, I'm not tripping on the kicker because I don't trust no kickers. They can hit 20 in a row, as I said before, and then miss the next 5. You can't trust them. So I just trust that they'll find a veteran and he'll be able to make it happen. Because kickers are a dime a dozen, in my opinion. So we'll see. And then at the end, Goodwin's spot has been there for the last 3 years, but he says Eric Scott will finally make him expendable. I agree with that. So those are the quick thoughts for the 53-man roster. A lot of the stuff I agree with John. He did a great job once again today. Shout out to him on the great article on Pro Football Focus. That's kind of my time here. 30 minutes to the dot. Stay with this video. Stay with it. Like it, share it, all that good stuff. It'll be dropping on all channels. And, we can go through it. I'll be in the chat even while this is going live, because this is pre-recorded, but I'll be in the chat and we can talk about, who makes it, who doesn't, and have a good time with that. If you'd like to donate, you see the name right there, Big Game James. We ain't going to be saying no to donations if you'd like to give them to help the cause continue to be great. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everybody that's supported Big Game James throughout the time. And let's talk about that 53-man roster here in a little bit. Big Game James, I'm out.